While Russia and Iran are practically allies in the present, this video isn't really about Iran invading Ukraine. Instead, we travel back in time to ancient Iran and Ukraine. Once upon a time in the land of ancient Persia, better known as Iran, there lived a king, or rather, the king of kings, Darius the Great. He was known for his military conquests and his strategic mind, which had helped him expand the Achaemenid Empire. However, the great king of kings was confronted with the problem that has always beset the empires across Asia, the nomadic people of the steppes. This was a problem that the Roman Empire was not able to solve, which led to the eventual collapse of the Western Roman Empire. This was a problem that beset the Chinese for millennia and resulted in the creation of the Great Wall of China. First, some background. Beyond the lands of the Achaemenid Empire were the lands that will be now known as the Ukraine. They were inhabited by nomadic peoples such as the Cimmerians, the Scythians, and the Sarmatians. The Sarmatians and Scythians were part of the Iranian steppe peoples. The Scythians were the original bad boys of Ukraine. They knew how to ride horses, shoot arrows, and generally cause a ruckus. The Scythian kingdom existed in this area along with the other ancient Greek colonies, Tyras, Olbia, and Hermonassa on the northeastern shore of the Black Sea. The Scythians of Ukraine interacted with Greek culture through trade. Around the same time, Rome was founded by Romulus. The colonies would later come under the Roman Empire. So why invade Scythia? Short answer, no one really knows. Practically all of the records from this period came from Herodotus, the Greek father of history. Herodotus' story is that Darius attacked the Scythians in order to take vengeance for the period of 28 years of Scythian domination of Media. The other more probable reason could be the need to subjugate the nomads, and that the Persian Empire could never feel secure as long as it had not reduced the Scythians to submission. Artabanus, the brother of Darius, tried to convince Darius not to invade Scythia, but was unsuccessful. As the Scythians were well known for being elusive in battle, Darius did not advance directly from the heart of the Persian Empire across the Caucasus, the official borderline. Instead, he created another plan to attack the Scythians from the rear. This was so that he could attack the part of Scythia that was more prosperous economically and was settled in a more permanent way. Herodotus claimed that Darius had 700,000 men and 600 ships for this invasion, but this is a rather fantastical number and thus rather questionable as well. When his army reached the Bosphorus, they faced a problem: water. Mandocles of Samos, a Greek engineer who was a subject, then built a bridge of boats for the Iranian army to cross the straits. Darius had conquered large portions of Eastern Europe just to get to the Scythians. The first conquests were the Greeks in Thrace, which brought the Persians into direct contact with the Greeks of the mainland, which totally wouldn't have further repercussions. Totally not.
This is Sparta!
Anyway, the Getae Greek tribe chose to fight and were wiped out. The subsequent Thracian tribes simply surrendered. With the Persians approaching, the Scythians, who were led by King Aidan Thersis, called their neighbouring tribes to aid them. Some were willing, the others not so much, and were only willing to fight if the Persians invaded their territory. Anyway, met with lukewarm responses, Aidan Thersis decided to adopt the scorched earth policy, harassing the Persians instead of facing them in battle. From here, the Scythians split their army into two groups. The first group headed towards the tribes that refused to fight. Yup, that's right, Aidan Thersis intended to draw the Persians towards them to screw them over. Meanwhile, the other group retreated towards the Tanais River, the modern-day Don River, in Russia. The Scythians also sent their best cavalry to harass the Persian army. They found the Persians a 3-day march from the Ister River, which is the modern Danube River. They destroyed the land in front of the Persian army and continued to avoid battle. However, the tactics of the Scythians resulted in the loss of their best lands and damaged their allies. Gelonus, the capital of one of the Scythian allies, was abandoned and burned down. The Persians continued chasing the Scythian cavalry towards the Tanais River, then north and east past the river. After crossing the river, the Persians built 8 huge forts, each 8 miles apart as frontier defense. The Persian plan was to box the Scythians into the barren area of the lower Volga, which could not have supported their cattle. The Persian army must have been aligned all along the Don. The Persian ships made it impossible for the Scythians to achieve a breakthrough by sudden concentrated thrusts across the Don. In order to prevent the Scythian breakthrough at the Great Bend of the Volga, the Persians had started to build a fortified line to the south. Thanks to their horses and great mobility, they avoided being caught in a trap. The Scythians proceeded to escape by crossing the Volga and passed to the north of the Persian army. Suddenly, Darius realized that the Scythians had disappeared. In order to accomplish the maneuver, the Scythians had abandoned their cattle and gambled on finding new food supplies once they had returned to their country. Realizing that they had been had, Darius turned the Persian army around and gave chase. The Scythians were skilled in the art of guerrilla warfare, using hit-and-run tactics to harass the Persians at every turn. In frustration, Darius sent a letter to Idan demanding him to fight or surrender.
Sir, these are strange doings. Why will you ever flee? You can choose which of 2 things you will do. If you deem yourself strong enough to withstand my power, wander no further, but stand and fight. But if you know yourself to be the weaker, then make an end of this running to and fro, and come to terms with your master, sending him gifts of earth and water.
Idan replied that he would only fight if Darius found and desecrated the graves of its Scythian forefathers. Until then, they would continue their strategy as they had no cities or cultivated land to lose. The Scythians sent a division of their army to the Ionians guarding the bridge at the Ister River, hoping to catch the Persians off guard. Meanwhile, the other division launched surprise attacks on the Persian army whenever they ventured out for provisions. The Scythians thought the Ionians guarding the bridge would betray the Persians, but the Ionians deceived the Scythians and saved the Persians from disaster. After negotiations, the Ionians had agreed to leave after 60 days if Darius did not arrive. At this point, Darius realized that he failed and ordered a retreat towards the bridge. The Scythians had regrouped and moved their entire army towards the bridge, leaving the Persians with no choice but to withdraw quickly. The king abandoned rearguard contingents to break contact with the Scythians, but the Scythians had arrived at the bridge first due to their mobility. The Scythians demanded the Ionians destroy it and leave, but Histiaeus of Miletus convinced the Ionians to stick with Darius.
It is by help of Darius that each of us is sovereign of his city. If Darius' power be overthrown, we shall no longer be able to rule, neither I in Miletus nor any of you elsewhere, for all the cities will choose democracy rather than despotism.
The Ionians took a vote and they decided to stick with Darius and pretended to destroy the bridge to fool the Scythians. The Scythians fell for the ruse and turned back in search of the Persians. They then moved north to meet the retreating Persian army, but their previous scorched earth policy made it difficult. The Persians were able to evade the Scythians and arrive at the Danube. The Ionians rebuilt the bridge upon their arrival. With the bridge once more in place, Darius escapes over the bridge back into Thrace. And there we have it, the Persians were saved by the Ionians who were rewarded with part of the conquered territories in Thrace. However, they would later revolt with the help of the other Greek city-states such as Athens and Eretria. This would lead to Darius leading the first Persian invasion of Greece to punish the Greek city-states.